It's time to answer some questions. Hi, this is Elizabeth, and some of you have taken the opportunity to post questions in the comments from my previous videos, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to go ahead and answer them. Most of them do have to do with sort of the general sense of what being a COVID nurse means, what it means to work night shift, and by most I mean I've gotten like 3 questions, so there you go. Anyway, let's get started. Random Writer asked me about how you adjust to staying up all night. So, first of all, I normally work day. For the past year or so, I've actually been working out of a doctor's office where I even had weekends and holidays, which for a nurse can be uncommon, especially in a hospital setting. Working nights can be difficult. I have done it in a hospital setting before, and what I had tried to do then was just to stay on schedule. Like, I stayed up all night even if the rest of my family was asleep. That takes its own kind of toll, in the sense that you're kind of socially isolated. You can't do things like go to most places that are only open during the day, and I actually really didn't like it. The physical part of actually staying up all night, admittedly I've been using Benadryl to adjust to sleeping during the day, and I've been drinking Pepsi at night. Part of the reason I actually accepted to do this as a night shift assignment is because it's so short. My contract is actually only for a month, and then my plan is to go back home unless it becomes obvious that my presence is really still necessary here in order to care for these people. But even then, it's not like this is going to be the rest of my life. There are people who I know who really thrived on night shift, especially those whose partners also work night shift. I think that does make a big, big difference. So yeah, my secret to my current month of working night shift, Benadryl and Pepsi. And an eye mask, especially if you are trying to sleep during the day. That light can be very bothersome. The other thing about this hotel is there's a main road running right outside, and so I do hear a lot of traffic. I've never had too much problem sleeping with noise, but the light is something I knew I was going to need some modifications to make sure that I could sleep during the day. So yeah, overall though, I'd say, especially considering that I have no life here other than this job, everything's working out pretty fine. My other question I got was about eating during shift, especially in consideration of the fact that we're surrounded by this potentially deadly virus, and we have all of this stuff that we're using to protect ourselves, but taking it off, putting it on is time consuming. So for me, a normal shift kind of goes like this. I wake up at about 6:30, usually closer to 6. I get dressed. I usually, as I'm leaving the hotel, I pick up my Pepsi from the hotel lobby and I walk to the hospital. There's actually a little deli just across the street that I've been stopping at, and I'll pick up like a wrap or something light to eat. I usually don't eat a full heavy meal when I'm working night shift. I just find that I can't tolerate that. And even with the food that I get, I'm generally eating at about 11. If you have a shift where you're taking patients, which, considering the situation I am in, is not always the case. Usually you've seen everyone at least once, you've given most of their scheduled medications by 9, by 10, if you're keeping things timed well. So at 11, there's usually a bit of a lull. Documentation normally is also here. It's a bit bare bones. And again, that just has to do with the uniqueness of the situation. by 11, I normally find there are enough people still on the floor who are not yet trying to take lunch. So it's actually fairly early for a lot of the night shift nurses, I find. So I can go eat and get back on the unit with anyone hardly having missed me. So last night, rather than taking a group of patients I was tasking, in a sense, I was acting as a CNA more than a nurse. Most of my night was spent taking blood sugars, actually. So that's time consuming in its own way. Usually on a hospital floor, you walk into a patient's room, you're like, I'm here to get your blood sugar. You prick a finger, you use the meter, and you're done, and you walk back out. On a COVID unit, it's that small of a task takes like 100% more time, just because you have to gown up, you have to put your masks on before you go into the room. When you come out, you have to wipe everything down meticulously before you walk into the next room to do it all over again. And when you have 20 of these that are all due at 6 a.m., you just do the best that you can do. But even so, I find that the nurses really are working hard together to make sure that everybody does get a chance to eat, does get a chance to take a break, does get a chance to sit down, which is nice because we are temporary in that sense of hopefully this whole influx of COVID patients does die down so that soon the hospital can resume its normal daily activities, even though like the COVID problems are likely not going away completely anytime soon, but they won't have had to open up floors that were closed for renovation to take care of this extreme influx of patients. So there's time to eat. My snack supply is good. I have a couple of spots now that I know I can get food that I can eat, which is wonderful. It's actually really good too. I did have one person who asked me that they said that they were considering taking a COVID nursing contract. And I would say overall my experience has been positive in that it's a crazy situation, but I've still managed to keep my sanity. What I mean by that, I think, is if you feel called to help out, especially right now, as a COVID nurse, and you're thinking of taking a travel assignment to New York or somewhere else, for instance, Seattle, California, who knows, really do consider it. And take with it the fact that this is not your new job. This is usually something that's going to be fairly short, especially if you've never taken a travel assignment before, because this is my first travel assignment. It's only, again, 4 weeks is the contract that I've signed up for, where I've agreed to do things that if this was going to be my job for the foreseeable future, there are things with this that I wouldn't do. I would not be working 5 days a week. I would not be working at night or be trying really hard to not work at night, just because I know that those things generally are not good for me in the long run. But yeah, I really can't think of anything that would tell me, no, don't do it, I regret this, or anything like that. That's definitely not been my experience. Come into it with a mindset that this whole thing is crazy. You need to be flexible. You need to expect that things are not going to go smoothly, that things are going to be a little scatterbrained and all over the place, and may not happen when or how or in any kind of fashion that you would either like or expect. Something I keep telling the nurses that I'm working with, and at times I don't necessarily think they get. Like, this is a field hospital. And look at me, they're like, no, it's not. It's no. The unit that I'm on is a COVID unit that was created out of nothing. It's a field hospital. We're working in austere conditions. I mean, hopefully, again, when things go back to a semblance of normalcy, we won't be needing to reuse our masks for multiple days, or use double masks to help preserve their integrity. It'll just be oh, well, here's my new box of N95s, let me open this up. And it's not there right now. Like, for instance, if you've been following, like, I got here expecting to be in the Bronx, and here I am in Harlem. And you just kind of have to roll with it. So if you're someone who really doesn't do well in ambiguous situations, if this is going to be like causing tons of anxiety for you, definitely think about it. The other thing I would say is make sure that you read your contract. Make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into in terms of what your company's expecting of you and how you're going to fulfill that. Again, because this was only going to be a 4-week thing for me, I agreed to things that I wouldn't have if this was meant to be my forever job. So if even after hearing all of that, you still want to go for this, go for it. There are quite a few pros, like the fact that it is a short, there's a lot of short contract opportunities, and the pay is quite nice. But yeah, just make sure you also advocate for yourself. Don't agree to something that's obviously not organized at all, not caring about your interests, just trying to get a body on a unit somewhere. That's really all I can think to say on that matter. So yeah, I thank everybody who's been following along with me on this rather unique experience. I will see you all tomorrow, and we'll get through the rest of these weeks together. Bye for now. I don't even know how to put it in